Check. Okay.
Muchas gracias, Jaime. Before we begin our service this morning, we have a few announcements. First, from the Ministerial Search Committee, we have a special video for you to watch. Thank you.
Hello, friends. This
This is your ministerial search committee. We've been working on the search since the summer, and now we need every congregant's input to help us move forward. Here are the 4 ways we need your help. First, join a cottage meeting or focus group. They're the same thing, and they are only happening in October. These are small, welcoming gatherings where you share your hopes and priorities for our next minister. Please sign up as soon as possible. Complete the B4 survey by October 19th and take part in the B4 workshop on October 25th. This is a one-time opportunity to help us reflect on our shared values and give a clear picture of who we are as a congregation before reviewing candidates. Even if you can't attend, please complete the survey to provide valuable information.
So sorry, as it happens, it's the other video? The one with flowers on it? No? Okay. So, Diane, you're up.
But do support the Ministerial Search Committee. I'm Diane Dustreft. I'm a member of the Social Justice Committee. And first of all, I want to thank everyone who attended the 50th anniversary COPS Metro Convention last week. I know it was a significant time commitment, so I am deeply grateful for your participation. Now we are looking at Election Day on Tuesday. This is a really important election that will impact our region for the next 30 years. Thank you to all who have already voted early or voted by mail. I know you use vote at a higher rate than average, but still, that means that more than half of us who are eligible to vote haven't voted yet. Please make a voting plan and vote on Tuesday. Also, a number of our members are involved in a Get Out the Vote effort. If you'd like to help get out the vote, or if you have questions about voting, see me after the service. Please honor your ancestors and practice your civic responsibility.
Good morning. My name is Polly Noel, and I am the president of the Board of Trustees. And the Board of Trustees will be holding a special congregational meeting on Sunday, November 16th, immediately following the worship service. The agenda will have a single item of business, a motion to approve the adoption of a congregational resolution on solidarity with Palestinians, proposed by members of the Social Justice Committee and the San Antonio chapter of UUs for Justice in the Middle East. Eligible voting members will receive details about the meeting, which will also include informational updates from the board and a listening session. A town hall will be held immediately after today's service in the fellowship hall to allow members to learn about and ask questions about the proposed resolution prior to the congregational meeting. Thank you.
Since we don't have a video, we're going to ad-lib this. So the message that the Ministerial Search Committee wants to convey is that thank you so much to everybody who did participate in a cottage meeting or focus group. We had, I think, over 25 of them over the course of October. We cannot do the work without your help, so thank you so very much. The last time, we have a congregational survey, and the last day that you have to complete it is tomorrow, the 3rd. So if you want to find one of us who's on the Ministerial Search Committee afterward for the link, there was a link that was sent as a standalone email on Friday, as well as in the Wednesday What's Happening. Thank you again so much.
Please rise as you are willing and able to call the four corners. We begin to the east. We face the rising sun and the element of air, aire, the breath of life and the word we share together now in this beloved worship. May we be blessed with knowledge and the capacity to learn as we speak and listen to each other. To the south, we move toward the element of fire, fuego, the spark of spirit we hold so dear in the flame of our sacred chalice. May that light inside us burn for change and ignite our movements towards justice. To the west, we turn to the element of water, agua, the life force of blood that feeds our bodies, the waters that run together, each rivet joined into one when we practice water communion. May our waters run deep, cleanse and revive us when we are parched. Fill us with calm to weather any storm. To the north, we are grounded to the element of earth, tierra, that grows blossoms for our flower communion and holds our own precious bodies. May we begin our sacred practice together in this particular place and time, deeply rooted and balanced in profound respect for ourselves and for each other.
Buenos dias. I'm Elizabeth Granado, the Religious Education Assistant.
And I'm Jody Iglesias, a member of the Social Justice Committee.
And we would like to extend a warm welcome on behalf of First Unitarian Universalist Church of San Antonio and San Antonio Gente Engaged with Unitarian Universalism, who is collectively leading this Dia de los Muertos service. Weekly worship is where we connect, share information, and inspiration. This faith is all-inclusive, and all means all. Here, we strive to enact a universal love that binds us in mutual care and affection, especially in our work for justice, for our planet, and all its people, our community of communities that we hold so dear. If you are new to us or visiting for the first time today, we welcome you to fill out a visitor's card. We'd like to get to know you and follow up with you. Wherever you are in your life's journey, we hope you will find a place with us. And I also want to let the kiddos know that there's coloring pages in the back that we prepared for Dia de los Muertos, since it is a multi-generational service. And yeah, there's colors and pages, so enjoy.
Today, I would like to take a moment to remind us that our land acknowledgement is more than just words. So before I begin with the actual land acknowledgement, I would just like to share with you what Dia de los Muertos means to me and my family and community. You see, sort of like Christmas or Thanksgiving, everyone has their own special and specific traditions, foods, and ways of honoring the holiday and ceremony. Dia de los Muertos, for me and my community, is a multi-day ceremony that involves much preparation. In many of our indigenous cultural traditions, just as we honor the four directions, we also honor the many dualities of our lives: night and day, cold and heat, the masculine and the feminine. We also recognize that there are sacred spaces where those dualities overlapped, very sacred, such as dusk and dawn, the mental and spiritual place your mind is when you are awake and falling asleep or sleeping and waking up. And I believe, the beautiful magic of spring and where we are today in the fall, between the extremities of the coldness of the winter and the brutal heat of our Texas summers. For me, Dia de los Muertos is not a celebration of death, but rather an exercise of love. It is like a Thanksgiving family reunion that brings together the living and the deceased to share around the table at our altars, to come back together as a family. So Dia de los Muertos is not really about death, but about love and memory, about the rituals and tradition that bring community and families back together. Some of our rituals and traditions call for only the women and children to be part of certain aspects of our preparation of our sacred altar. This year, we were unable to meet that criteria, but not for a lack of will or desire or resolve, but for a simple matter of a lack of understanding. As we strive to continue to perfect our beloved community, we must come to recognize that misunderstandings are part of every community, of every family, of every relationship, and that it is through the healing in these cracks that the light shines through and the love grows. We speak the words of our land acknowledgement every week, but sometimes that repetition can make the words less meaningful, and I did not wish for that to happen today. I would like to thank the members of the San Antonio Gente Engage Sage community, Sage UU, for being the stewards of this annual celebration that has been taking place on these lands long before the Europeans arrived, and with that, invoke our land acknowledgement for today. We, the beloved community of First Unitarian Universalist Church San Antonio, acknowledge the San Antonio River as Yanaguana, spirit waters of in Payaya, and the landscape we now call San Antonio, Texas, as the ancestral homelands of our numerous distinct indigenous peoples, including the Coahuiltecans, Payaya, Carrizo Comecrudos, and many other tribes and peoples who, since time immemorial, whose direct descendants are among us today. This acknowledgement honors the unbroken ties between indigenous peoples and our traditional lands and waterways. We affirm that our descendants have the right to protect and steward the sacred heritage sites, especially the burial sites and cemeteries of our ancestors. These descendants are knowledge keepers of this area, and our decisions about this land benefit us all. As we strive to be a community of service, may we make space and empower those most affected by injustice, to continue to work with other mindful communities such as ours towards a more inclusive, respectful recognition of the complex human history the complex human history of this very special place on earth that we call home, and the refinement of our water and land acknowledgement toward a more just, equitable, relevant, and inclusive approach to site and ceremonial understanding, reparation, and cooperation. Thank you.
Good morning, buenos dias. My name is Alyssa Curry, and I am grateful to be here today with you and with Sage, all my comadres and compadres. This is a special year for our community when our weekly services coincide with the day of Dia de los Muertos. This is a tradition that we have been building as a community, led by the members of SAGE UU, San Antonio Gente engaged with Unitarian Universalism, as covenanters who have taken seriously the task of bringing to you and creating for you a service that is steeped in tradition and poured through the sieve of our shared UU values and beliefs. It is not easy for us to access the spiritual depth, as many of us have been divorced from our native languages and spirituality by layers of colonialism. And yet, we are here, sharing this moment with you as SAGE UU, hopeful about what can be when we build collectively, respectfully, and humbly. The relationship between our group and the larger congregation that has developed over the 7 years SAGE UU has been asked to lead the DDLM service is a beautiful relationship. We in SAGE UU have seen it as deep medicine, healing some of the wounds that white supremacy has inflicted upon us. We acknowledge the blessing we have been given in the past for the time and place to create our sacred practice. Unfortunately, that has not been our experience this year. There are forces that have challenged the relationship we have cultivated. Perhaps the biggest indicator of the disruption and derailment we experienced is the absence of our large collective ofrenda. We usually prepare this ofrenda in the days before our Sunday service in hopes that this gift may be shared and completed by you. This year, we feel different, sound different, and look different. In fact, we have changed the order of service to meet the occasion, and we hope that you understand our offering. In this collective garden, there are times for every crop, every single flower. And some years, the conditions are right to flourish, while other years, a field may be spared so that it can be prepared to yield its bounty at another time. Our tears will water this ground. The fire of our hearts will give it warmth and light. Our roots are deep and nourished by this medicine. This is the current moment, and we hope that we will be made whole by this sacrifice. We honor our ancestors today with our courage and our strength. Gracias.
Good morning. My name is Oscar Solis, and I've been a member of this church since 2018. I'm also a strong supporter of the SAGE group. Oh, who's doing me?
No, not us. We'll just call up the children. Call up the children. You can read this.
Okay. This morning, Lucia Lopez, Correa Lopez, and Elijah Lopez will be lighting our chalice. The flaming chalice unites our members in worship and symbolizes the spirit of our faith. May this flame light and dance as we share this moment to articulate our faith. Okay. I jumped the thing here. Okay. We are called as Unitarian Universalists to build the beloved community where all are welcomed as blessing. Let us recite our covenant that articulates this promise and binds us together. Please read together. In Spanish. Sorry.
Okay. Together in peace.
Then you're going to read this.
Oh, el amor es la doctrina de esta iglesia. Su sacramento es la búsqueda de la verdad y su oración es el servicio. Convivir en paz, buscar sabiduría en libertad, dar a la humanidad nuestro servicio fraternal para que todas las almas crezcan en armonía con la divinidad. Así pactamos el uno con el otro.
My name is Ruth Castillo. I've been a member for some years now. I'd like to invite our young people and young at heart to come for story wisdom down at the front. Nobody? Yeah, come on over. It takes just one. All right, so I wrote this story a couple years ago, and I wanted to share it again, okay? So, había una vez. Can you guys say that? Había una vez. Había una vez. It means once upon a time, okay? There were 3 cousins, Zoila, Cristina, and John, and they were very close. And they had this grandmother who they loved so, so much, Abuela Rosa. Okay? And every day after school and every summer, they would go to Abuela Rosa's house, and she would take care of them, and she'd send them outside to play, and she would cook for them. And the dishes were simple. She'd make quesadillas or arroz con pollo, and sometimes she'd make sopita. Do you have a favorite soup? Do you like soup? What's your favorite soup? Macaroni. Macaroni, sí. Yo también.
It was a soup with shrimp inside of it.
Ooh.
It's called though.
Okay, that's okay. Shrimp soup sounds good. Ceviche, maybe. Now, Abuela Rosa's gone now. She passed away. And so the cousins, they don't go to Abuela Rosa's house anymore. They go to their Tia Lulu's house. Okay? And everything's different at Tia Lulu's house. Okay? Her house smelled different. Her couch was different. Her yard was different. Her hugs were different. And most of all, the food was very, very different. And so it was that one day in late October that our littlest cousin, Zoila, was looking down into her bowl of sopita, her bowl of soup, and she started to cry. What's wrong? Her Tia Lulu asked. Words just burst out of Zoila's chest. Your soup is wrong. It has macaroni shapes. Sopas made with conchitas. They're made with shell shapes. Okay. Abuela Rosa used to make conchitas, Cristina added. Yeah, conchitas are real soup, John piped in. There's many ways to make soup. But we eat conchas. And Abuela Rosa would sprinkle cheese on top. I miss eating conchitas and cheese. I miss Abuela Rosa. The words hung in the air, lifted up with the steam from their soup bowls. All 3 cousins had their faces all scrunched up, and tears were coming down, and no one wanted to look at Tia Lulu. It wasn't that they didn't like Tia Lulu, but they missed Abuela Rosa. I know, my dear ones, I miss her too. Let's put away our soup, and we'll have an ofrenda in her memory. A what? John asked. An ofrenda, a little altar space, Lulu said. She put the dishes on the side. You put things that belong to your loved one, that remind you of them all together in one spot. Why? Well, to honor their memory. And on Dia de los Muertos, it's a way to call the spirit of their loved ones home. Let's start with this picture of your Tia Lulu. And she put one on the counter. My mommy has a candle for my Abuela Rosa. She lets me light the candle. I'm really good with matches. Zoila was ready. Oh, that's perfect, mi corazón. I have a candle right here in the cabinet. And Tia Lulu pulled the candle down and she put it by the picture. This candle's flame can remind us all of the warmth that we felt around Abuela Rosa and light the way for her spirit to be with us. What else could we add? Maybe we can add some flowers, John asked. Flowers are perfect, mijo. We'll take these tijeras and cut a few cempasúchil marigolds from my yard. And the way they sway in the breeze is a wonderful way to recall the breath of life. And their scent is a sure way to draw your Abuela Rosa spirit to our ofrenda. Tia Lulu, why are you putting a glass of water there? Oh, water is important for life. And everyone needs to drink up. And your abuela might not just want to drink something, she might want to cleanse herself too. I would never let a guest in my home go hungry or thirsty. Lulu finished pouring some water from her pitcher into her crystal glass and grabbed a tiny bowl. Pásame la sal. Zoila grabbed the salt shaker off the kitchen table and asked, well, what's the salt for? Well, salt is just as important for life. It preserves and keeps us safe, and it makes everything taste better. And look, if I'm careful, I can make a little cross here, like a compass. Tu abuela, she was able to find her way here. Now, let's check in the pantry. I think I brought some pan dulce for dessert. Dessert! You guys like dessert?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're really excited. All the cousins were suddenly excited by the change in direction. Tia Lulu reached into the cabinet and she pulled down 5 plates and put 1 churro on each plate. She served one up to each kid and placed her plate at the table with the café. She put a 5th plate and a 2nd mug on the ofrenda. This churro is for abuela. When we would sit down and drink our café, she would always have churros to stir and dunk into her coffee. It was her favorite treat. And the wheat that grows in the ground becomes the churros and the macaroni and the conchitas that we eat. And in one way, we return to the earth. And we are never really gone. The memory of your abuela lives on in you. Her memory lives in our hearts and minds. I like making ofrendas for Abuela Rosa, Suela announced with her mouth full of churro. Her cousins nodded in agreement. And from then on, Tia Lulu kept the ofrenda on her counter, and Conchita shell pasta stocked in the pantry so that she could make the right sopita. Okay, if you guys want to go with your families. All right. Now, I know some families and some of our friends have brought some special items to build our ofrenda today. So I want you to bring your items, your photos, your recuerdos, your flowers, your candles, and come up to here and help us build our ofrenda today. This is your ofrenda, our ofrenda.
For our sorrows and joys, we're going to revisit the old way of lighting tea candles in joyous and sorrowful memory in the tradition of Dia de los Muertos as a guiding light for the spirits of our dear ones. As you choose, please line up with your friends and fellow congregants down these side aisles and make your way in memory and honoring and lighting the way for those and that which we have lost, but we shall find again.
So, from our community book of life, one of our coffee sextons, Cindy Darty, is having back surgery on Tuesday and will be out for 6 weeks. Please keep her in your thoughts as we have a moment to wish her a speedy recovery. Grateful for our BIPOC solidarity and resilience. Ruth and Lito are so grateful that their oldest son, Aiden, and his wonderful partner, Rowan, are here today visiting from Austin area. Yay. Also, happy birthday to Mark Rockymore. And for those from afar that are with us to witness our offering, I give thanks. For all our joys and sorrows and concerns, may we feel empathy and compassion. May the caring of our community offer a space of deep kindness, loving and just action.
Happy Sunday. My name is Moon Luna Sanchez Brand. I've been a member of this church for 22 years. And I get to introduce our speakers. But before I do, I want to just share a little explanation. At this church, we have affinity groups. The majority of us up here belong to the Latinx affinity group, Sage UU. It's been mentioned several times already. There is so much value within the safe space of an affinity group. Members can speak their truth, foster cultural connection with mutual support, and share in collective empowerment. And mixed in with all that, we like to have some good fun. I recognize that the concept of a separate space for an affinity group can sometimes be met with confusion in a community that strives for openness. But please understand that our gathering is not an act of segregation. It is an act of spiritual and cultural sustenance. Affinity groups are a direct response to the reality that even in the most welcoming communities like our church, systems of power and dominant culture may be pervasive. But we've got helpers. Sage UU has friends that do not identify as Latinx, but they are still very much a part of us. They are our allies. The role of an ally to an affinity group is to help carry the group's essence into rooms where their voices are often absent, silenced, interrupted, and even inhibited. They help translate the needs and experiences of the Latinx community to those who may not yet understand. This fosters a culture of empathy and respect that benefits everyone. Latinx affinity groups are not responsible for educating the wider community about their struggles or culture. Informed allies help shoulder this burden. They stand beside the Latinx community not just in celebration, but in times of challenge and protest. And so we are doing a little protest, not a full-blown protest, because if that was the case, we wouldn't be here. Just a little one. And so, now I want to introduce our speakers. We first will start with Lito Buhandamor, an ally, and then after him, Dana Clark, also an ally, and then we will wrap it up with Ruth Buhandamor. She is one of our SAGE members.
Good morning. Buenos dias. My name is Lito Buhandamor, as Moon mentioned, and my pronouns are he, him. I'm currently serving as an at-large trustee on our board and also co-facilitating an OWL, Our Whole Lives, 7th through 9th grade sexuality education course. But this morning, however, I am not speaking as a member of the board or a volunteer to our religious education program. I was born and raised in the southern border of El Paso, Texas. I grew up surrounded by the people, music, food, history, and culture of Mexico. I dated and married a Mexican American. Our 2 sons are Latinos who grew up learning 2 languages and many times 2 histories. On some rare occasions, I've even been called an honorary Mexican, or even been assumed to be a Latino, but sadly, I am not. I'm an English-speaking, cisgender, straight white male who happened to be born 3 miles north of the international border. Now, at one time, I thought my good intentions and refined education granted me liberty into any cultural space that caught my interest. I was wrong. I gave no thought as to whether or not my presence was actually enriching the space or if I was just a tolerated guest who couldn't take a hint. That was before I learned that equal treatment was not the same as the treatment of equals. I was indulging in the richness and splendors of a people without having to suffer any of the injustices or abuses. Our recently adopted 8th principle calls for us to accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and in our institutions. I'm trying to learn how to recognize both the oppressions and how to dismantle them. One such opportunity is acknowledging the difference between segregated spaces, safe spaces, and affinity spaces, and which to attempt to dismantle versus those to honor and protect. We have several such protected spaces within our beloved community that are not open to all, regardless of intentions. I believe that my role as an individual who is not welcome in those spaces is to remain outside of them, respecting and protecting those sacred spaces from intrusion or disruption. I kindly ask all of you to hold me accountable in this effort. Thank you.
My name is Dana Clark. My pronouns are she, her. As an ally of SAGE UU, I am honored to speak on this Dia de los Muertos service. Once before, I participated in this service by playing guitar while Esperanza sang, and I am glad to play a part again. My spiritual life has been greatly enhanced by what I learned here at UU about so many different religious traditions. I find a little piece of myself in every tradition. Since San Antonio is a Mexican-American city with deep historical and cultural ties to Mexico, it is important that we allow those whose lives have been steeped in this tradition to educate us about Dia de los Muertos. In past years, the Sage UU team have gifted our congregation with a service that not only informed us intellectually, but allowed us to experience it in rich, authentic detail. After Sage's first presentation of Dia de los Muertos, I enthusiastically proclaimed, "At last, our church has finally arrived in San Antonio." In the sense that the members of Sage are as much UUs as they are Mexican American, they are the ones who can best enlighten us about Dia de los Muertos because they present it in a UU context. It is always those who embody more than one culture who can lead us into the future. This is the 7th year that Sage blesses us with this service. Every year has been more powerful as they refine their approach. The team usually spends many hours assembling a beautiful ofrenda, the very ofrenda that is missing this year. That wasn't possible this year, so we've all had the opportunity to contribute it during the service. The worship committee will continue to hold a space for a Sage UU Dia de los Muertos service for many years to come.
Buenos dias. My name is Ruth Pujandamor, and my pronouns are she, her, ella. I am a second-generation Mexican-American and a very proud Tejana. I was born and raised in literally the furthest west point of Texas, that little tiny point, that cute little point, called El Paso del Norte, the pass to the north, usually just called El Paso. At the borderland, cradled by the Franklin Mountain Range, lulled by the delicious smell of creosote in the desert rain, and nurtured by my mom's flour tortillas. I was the youngest child of 5, and Spanish was my first language. And I was very spoiled, my siblings will tell you. My high school's name, Riverside High School, the river that it references is the Rio Grande, which I could look across every day. I was raised in the Southern Baptist Church and came to UUism as fast as I could. Even though the population of El Paso is predominantly Mexican-American, we did not celebrate Dia de los Muertos in my home, I think in large part due to our religious constraints. Many years later, I recalled that when my son Aiden was in kindergarten class in a dual language school, his wonderful teacher painted all of the kids' faces, only half of their face, with a skeleton or a calavera, a design to commemorate Dia de los Muertos. She taught them and me that siempre vivimos entre la dualidad, entre la vida y la muerte. We always live within the duality of life and death. As you parents know, our children are oftentimes our greatest teachers. And so I learned through Aiden and Dante and their elementary education about Dia de los Muertos and contributed to ofrendas and beautiful altars at their schools. That led to us having a permanent altar, ofrenda, in our home, which sadly grows every year with pictures and mementos of loved ones that have passed away. My father, Fortunato Bujanda Reyes, was the first one added to our altar. He died when I was 22 years old after a 6-year battle with cancer. When we began doing this Dia de los Muertos service here at our First UU Church in San Antonio, my heart, it found, finally, a piece that it had been missing, a cultural home within my religious and spiritual realm, a place where grief and joy and remembrance commingle and are completed within me and amongst us. This service that embraces this spiritual practice is another borderland home for me. The border between life and death becomes thinner, even transparent at this time of year. It has meant so very much to me to be fulfilled. It has meant so very much to me to be able to contribute and be fulfilled by this observed sacred ritual here in my beloved community, here with you at our church. Mil gracias, many, many thanks for allowing us to share and for coming alongside us to this borderland. I leave you with the words of the Chicana feminist author Gloria Y. Ansaldúa. Living on borders and in margins, keeping intact one's shifting and multiple identity and integrity is like trying to swim in a new element.
Hello. You'll notice that my name is absent from today's sparse order of service, which is reflective of the nature in which today's ceremony has been derailed. My name is Khadija Enriquez, and as most of you know, I'm a member of the choir, and my form of service to this community has been through my singing. It's disappointing to share that I was originally going to be substantially involved in what would have been today's sacred service. Today's initial plans had involved an array of music provided by myself, Esperanza, Jaime, and well-respected Latin musicians in the San Antonio community, and I was excited to collaborate with everyone. I'd also like to acknowledge all of the work that Jaime put into preparing for today. He had to unhire our friends on Tuesday and put a good amount of effort into curating, transcribing, and arranging what would have been today's music. You'll notice that he played the Prelude today with one hand, the other one behind his back, symbolizing what it feels like being admired as a musician, yet not receiving the respect that it takes to be truly heard. We've decided to withhold the musical selections originally planned for today, as they were woven into the fabric of ofrenda building, aspects of which have been challenged, and to piece apart and only present the most desirable aspects of this ceremony would be a disservice. I won't honor my ancestors with stipulations. What Seiju has been planning for the past couple of months hasn't been just a reenactment of scenes from Coco, which is an excellent movie, but sharing in a sacred space a practice with indigenous roots, one that survived hundreds of years of colonization, demonization, and commercialization. The ofrenda is not just a decoration to put your pretty flowers on, it's a sacred space. The assembly of an ofrenda is not just symbolic gestures, but an opening of space between worlds. Seiju spends earnest spiritual, physical, and mental effort in preparing an experience as a gift to our broader community, inviting you to the practice if you choose to participate. But when specifically women of color's voices are spoken over in relation to our own practices, one must ask, for a practice that has survived colonization, demonization, and commercialization, what does it mean when others intrude, imitate, or appropriate it without the language, the prayers, or understanding that gives it life. This isn't about exclusion, it's about responsibility. It's more than an aesthetic, it's a ceremony, relationship, lineage, honor, and perseverance. There's no community more than this one that I would expect to be able to understand this. As a Black, Mexican, queer woman, this space is generally a space that I feel comfortable with. I like y'all. So today's circumstances are disappointing, but I believe that we will be able to grow from this experience. If you choose to take part in a ceremony like this, do so with humility. Learn from those stewarded with the knowledge of tradition. And I lovingly ask to remember that not all doors to other worlds are yours to open. I know today's a little bit spicy coming from me, okay? But if you do have any feelings about what's being said today, we do have this book and a multitude of others in the mock library. Thank you.
Me again, just really quickly, because I know we're a little over time. I just want to paint a picture, especially for you newcomers that are like, what is happening here? In years past, we had just the most beautiful tapestry. Just imagine tapestries throughout. And this arch of like 8 feet tall, or maybe even taller than that, with greenery and palms and flowers. And we had calaveras and pan picado and candles that just illuminated and made the space so cozy and inviting. And the music, oh my goodness, the music, that toe tapping, música that, you know, it stayed with you and fed you the rest of the week. I miss it. There was also this sense of a high vibrational energy of joy in remembrance of ourselves, of us being our own personal altars. Two weeks ago, the service was entirely different. It was going to be big and colorful, and it was going to be way out there in your face. But earlier this week, all of that just melted away. On Monday, our Sage UU group was disrespected and minimalized. The details don't matter right now, but know that this Latinx group of wonderful people are hurting. We are in recovery from shock and trauma. But we are strong, and we are together, and we are holding each other up. And as I look out, I see that a lot of you are with us. And I thank you. I find that my biggest growth happens when I am uncomfortable. And right now, I am very uncomfortable. So I invite you
to be uncomfortable with us so that we may grow together. I am trusting in the UU process that everything's going to be fine, and we will be back here next year stronger than ever. I thank you.
We do have an offertory. I apologize to our stewards of that. If you don't mind coming forward to take the offering for today. Thank you so much. I apologize. I know we're going over, but thank you for your patience. Go ahead and come on up with me. We bless these gifts and we bless the givers. Thank you so much. Again, from Gloria Ansaldúa. This land was Mexican once, was Indian always, and is, and will be again. This service is now complete. Thank you for your presence and for your gifts. Please make sure to collect these items. Bendito sean, blessed be.